30 Days of Violence, episode 25, and we're just going to take a quick look at chin jabs. Now, chin jabs are the most recognisable and ubiquitous of all World War II combatives techniques. And that's not just to say in the Fairbairn lineage, but we can see this across the huge range of World War II material, that the chin jab is a commonly recurring tool. And we've got to look at, firstly, a quick fire recap of some of the types of chin jab, and then we're going to explore why do we even bother? Why do we use that tool, or why did they use that tool instead of other options? So, to recap, the chin jab uses the hard central part of the palm, and it comes underneath the opponent's field of vision, a bit like an uppercut might, or a bit like a sharp upward thrust with a bladed weapon. The uppercut is a very close range weapon indeed, using that central part. So the first of all is an unattached chin jab, and that's essentially, and I won't go through setups, but the idea is from here, we step in towards the opponent, so we close the range, we drive this up here, and then we grip onto the eyes. It's percussive and then gripping. Percussive and then gripping. When you do it fast, there's very little in between it, but if you was to break it down super slow, you want to make sure that hit lands first and then the grip. So an unattached chin jab from here, from here, from here. You've got an attached chin jab, and what we mean by that is you might take a grip. Now this grip might be on someone's back, on their webbing, on their clothing, over their arm, so you may decide to have some type of overhook, but it is attached. I've made some attachment to you, so I am pinning you in place somewhat. This is the most common variant, the arm around the back, as I fire that shot, so there's some degree of levering. So essentially, if I can lever you this way, and again, it's not a push, it's a strike. If I can lever you this way, pulling in and pushing here, I can land you on the back of the head, and that causes substantial damage indeed. So we've got an unattached chin jab. We've got an attached chin jab, and that may be around the back, around the arm, on the webbing, on the clothes, whatever. We've got inverted chin jabs, and that's a chin jab where the thumb is down, and this is at super close range here, and we hit this way, or to make it clearer for the camera, so my thumb being down, I hit this way, and that is often accompanied again by a grip, and then grip here. So we're at very close range, we hit and we grip, so we've got an inverted chin jab. Then you've got a chin jab which is delivered simultaneous. I'll just call it simultaneous chin jab for now. And this may be, for instance, where we chin jab and we knee at the same time. You won't be able to see that too clearly, but let's say my left hand is chin jabbing, my left knee will also do it at the same time, like so. So I chin jab and knee at the same time. Or I may decide to knee first, and the somatic reflex is to hold the groin and tip the head forward, and then land the chin jab. So it can be completely simultaneous, knee and chin jab, or it can be knee followed by a chin jab. Either way, simultaneous chin jab. So doing a chin jab at the same time as another strike, that might be boot kick to the leg, or it might be knee to the groin at completely the same time, or just a small staggering of the timing. Head down, chin jab up. And then we've got double chin jabs, and essentially that's where we open the book like so, and we feed the opponent the book. And this is very important to not be too far away. You're not the Walking Dead, you're not a zombie. So we're getting a little bit closer, driving up and through, and striking again using the palms. It's either side of the jaw, and this can either be done like so, where the thumbs end up where the eyes are, or with a little bit more canting of the hand, the fingers end up where the eyes are. But in either instance, the palms are hitting the jaw, bang! And it's very important for you to be in a close enough range that the force goes into the person. I don't want all my force expended here reaching, and that's why you typically come low and in, okay? So if we recap on the types of chin jab, an unattached chin jab, a chin jab that just fires itself. A chin jab which comes with an attachment around the back, around the arm, on the clothing, what have you. We've got a simultaneous chin jab, one that lands with a knee or with a kick at the same time, or with staggered timing. So knee, then a millisecond after, chin jab, or at the same time, bam, through here. We've got inverted, super close range, thumb down, crack him here, often followed by a grip. And we've got our double chin jab, like so, bursting through. Alternately, it's harder to show because I don't have two bobs, but you can also see chin jabs, which are a double chin jab, but it's in fact two at the same time. Although I would postulate that those tend to look a bit more like tiger claws than a traditional chin jab, but you can get two people simultaneous. Imagine another bob here, bang, one chin jabbing another. So unattached, attached, simultaneous, inverted, double. So a lot of range there. There's a lot of things to play with, and there's probably some more that I've forgotten about, but I'm trying to keep this video short, although I've failed at that mission already. Why do we do them? Why are they ubiquitous? Why are they important? Main thing really is, well, in fact, there's a couple of things. I'm not going to say the main thing. Helmets. Imagine a helmet on Bob here. Anything that comes straight down the pipe at Bob has a good chance of clunking off his helmet, which causes damage to my hand or makes the technique not as effective as it could be. It'll still cause trauma. Being hit with a helmet on doesn't stop it hurting per se, but you're not going to get the desired effect. The chin jab comes underneath, where there is nearly always some room for entry, because a bit like a medieval knight compared to a modern soldier, we need room for articulation at our elbows, shoulders, knees, and our head. So this area is typically free for us to hit without much chance of us damaging our hands on here. Secondly, think about what happens when you chin jab. If you chin jab correctly, you knock them out or knock them down. Either way, because this force is on their head, it's typically the back of the head that lands as opposed to the back. And think about World War II combatives, you don't want them to get back up again. So landing them on the back of the head in that instance is the fortuitous move, because you're going to land with some serious damage or injury, which is historically what you'll have wanted. And then we can also look about knockouts. If you think about this, all right, think about how far your head can move from chin to chest and back of head to your back. That's a big old arc of movement. Yep. Left to right, kind of smaller arc. Down to up, it's a big old arc. What is a knockout? It's a shaking of the brain. So if we can land this chin jab and rocket that head, we shake the brain really easily, or comparatively easily. So bam, it hits, rockets the head, shakes the brain inside the skull casing, knockout occurs. When knockouts occur, that's great for you, because that gives you the best of all possible options. If you needed to end the encounter more finally, you could do that relatively unobstructed, or you can make your escape, landing that clean knockout. But either way, that arc of motion that comes from chin jabs is really good at knocking people out, which is a really useful thing. And finally, it's very safe on the hands. Very safe on the hands indeed, because using the central part of the hands. You think about most World War II jobs, they require some degree of dexterity with your fingers. Radio operator, fixing weapons, doing stuff, engineering requires your fingers. This is less damaging on those fingers, especially if you haven't had the time to train very fully. And finally, obviously, with the chin jabs, imagine when you're doing these, you're holding some type of tensile object like a large orange or a grapefruit. The fingers being splayed very often encourage secondary trauma, that trauma to the eyes. When there's trauma to the eyes, let's imagine I've got trauma to Bob's eyes here, hands tend to forget what they were planning on doing and come to the wrists or come to the hands. They try and prevent that trauma to the eye. And indeed, when you do get trauma to your eyes, your first impulse is to recoil, to pull those hands away or push those hands away. That means those hands are no longer reaching for other weapons, or those hands are no longer striking at you. So that gripping, pulling, tearing, maiming aspect of the chin jab, yes, it causes damage, but the main thing is it prevents him messing around, pulling weapons, punching you in the head, because he's focused on removing that initial source of trauma to his eyes. It's very hard for him to think while fingers are in his retina. So as you can see, whether it comes to helmet discipline, where it comes to how you strike, using the safest part of your hand, when it comes to the use of the fingers to provide trauma, so they can't access their weapon or can't strike you effectively, and how it lands them on the back of your head. If you start to add all those factors together, you can start to understand why the family of techniques of chin jabs are just so ubiquitous for that moment in time, because they have great utility and they're really easy to learn. So they've got great net benefits and results and require very little maintenance to use. And as you can see, I've moved through several types of range here. They're all close range, but I've got a good number of options from super close range to slightly longer to play with, all within that chin jab technique family. So when all said and done, it's not rocket science. You have to get in there, give it a play, work the attributes, work the power development. You got to get used to using your hips, using your core, using your shoulders, using your feet, all those things. Then you've got to start to use them on resisting opponents. And today, unlike yesteryear, we've got all sorts of great crash helmets and other things that we can really start to work with. It's a hard technique, even with padding on, to land at full force and really be kind to your sparring partners, your training partners, but it has so much range, versatility and usage today, let alone the amazing benefits it would have had yesteryear. So that's a little bit of a long winding talk about the family of techniques of the chin jab.